You are listening to the Independent Dealer Podcast with hosts Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson.
Hello and welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast, brought to you by Buckeye Dealership Consulting. Luke, man, we are in tax season. It is the end of March, end of February, 1st of March.
Yeah, I like getting through February. It takes a bit of a load off.
How'd it go?
February was good. Not the best February we've ever had. And, you know, we've been talking about that, the sales staff with staff. And we did 81 cars one time in February, Jeff.
Wow, for you, it's big.
That's huge. And that was in like 13 or 14, I think. 12, 13 or 14. Anyway, and just crushed it. And I tell the staff that we did 81 cars, and they don't believe me, Jeff. Mm-hmm. They go, how in the world did you do that? I don't know. I can't pinpoint what we did to get those 81 cars sold that year, but we did it. And, you know, we've had 60s here and there. You know, we typically sell 30 to 35 a month. So, you know, doubling the production during those months is huge. And we got, we fell short of our goal this year. We ended up in the, you know, low to mid 40s. But I tell you what, after doing that many cars and not being stressed, and it would be stressful for us normally, but it wasn't stressful at all. Staff did their job. Everything flowed right. And I think a lot of that had to do with one of our sponsors, Neo. But we really, I think, are really close to dialing it in and doing 40 every month. So that's our goal. And hopefully that's where we're going to get to.
Just tightening up your processes and using Neo for your underwriting and just not having to scramble to get this stuff done. I think it definitely helps to smooth your processes like that when you do get them dialed in and you start really figuring out how all the pieces fit, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're hoping to do. How about you? So how'd you do?
My February was okay, slightly above normal. We didn't hit goal. You know, our Tax Max program, I think today we filed about 9 refunds, about $22,000. So that was a bit off from last year as well. Obviously, we still got a little more time to keep filing some returns. We always seem to be a little bit behind with the money. I always see the Facebook posts and all my dealer buddies talking about how they're seeing the tax money hitting the ground. And I think we've seen some, but we've not really seen like a noticeable influx of, you know, large down payments. So, yeah, so hopefully that's still coming for us.
For sure. You know, what we noticed was that last year, the last 2 years, we've been able to sell some really high-end units. And I pulled that price down a little bit. And a good thing I did, because our really higher end units have sat this whole tax season already. And that's usually because the payments are too high and the down payment's too high. So I'm glad I kind of stuck to my guns and brought my average inventory price down a little bit, because I think that's helped and will continue to, you know, hopefully March. We anticipate March probably being bigger than February, but, you know, surely because of the amount of days, number one. But you're in the middle of tax season now. You're not on the beginning or the end. I think March will be a good indication of how this year really turns out.
Yeah, I find it surprising you can bring down your cost of car, because I can't go any lower. I can't. There's just nothing lower. There's just nothing.
Well,
it's just crazy. And even they talk about prices coming down and all this stuff, right back up, just like it always does. We knew it would. And
yeah. Yeah, but I'm talking about the difference in a carrying multiple units at 25,000 ACV. No, we have not. Like, our core ACV is still $13,000 to $16,000. So that stayed right there. But I lessened the $25,000, $20 to $28,000 ACV, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, the cheap stuff, you can always sell a cheap car, you know, and it applies for all areas. Even me, to have a 13,000 ACV is crazy for me, right? That's high for me. But if I had a $1,300 ACV, sure, I could sell them like hotcakes, but
you'd repossess them like hotcakes and pick them up on the side of the road like hotcakes.
Well, it's a good, you know, it's an interesting argument to make, is like, where is the payoff between a cheap, affordable car that will be paid for and they'll keep, and too cheap, it's not going to run the note, and you're going to end up repoing it, or you're bringing in the type of customer that's okay with a $1,300 ACV. which means it's got higher miles, it's beat up, and now they're not being able to be successful.
Yeah, I think.
Hey, I'm on your newsletter, Luke, for your dealership. I understand that there's a free tube steak on Friday.
Yeah, I know how you like customer appreciation days, and so we've tried this. We just wanted to bring some more action to the lot. The first one we tried in February, the weather was crappy, and so it didn't turn out like we wanted to. But just creating the buzz, Jeff, does something. So again, this Friday, free hot dogs and chips all day. You know, we start cooking about 11, and we just create some action, and that's really all it's about. Who cares how many people come and get hot dogs? We'll cook 80 of them, and you know what? Maybe we'll eat 80. I don't know.
You'll cook 80. The staff will eat 70.
It's very possible.
You'll throw away 5. That's how it always is. Every time I bring in a food truck or we do something on a Friday, the bulk of it is just employees eating it. I don't know if it does any good. I just have no faith in these things.
I don't either. And the only person I know that does this right is Tracy Myers. But he has a flair for going big with everything. So maybe that's what it is. He'll get bounce houses and things like that. Maybe you have to have everything. Maybe do it once a year. But we're just trying. I think customers appreciate it when they see it, even if they come or not. If they see that you're doing something, it makes them happy to know they bought a car from you.
Yeah, I can definitely see that from a branding standpoint. That's all they need to know is that you're in the community, you're giving back, you've got those opportunities. I'm sure your employees appreciate, a dirty water dog on a Friday or however you're going to cook these things.
We're grilling them, buddy. No, we're not. No garbage boiling hot dogs.
We did a customer appreciation party every year forever, right? Since the beginning, I've been doing them, and they were really well attended back in 2010, 2013, 2014. But the last few years I did them, 2019, 2018, man, it's the same 10 people that show up to try to get a free TV or a free car payment. I could not get any kind of attendance, and it just got. So I don't know if it's the culture. People just don't have time to stop at these things, and they don't want to waste their, evening or their weekend or whatever it is. Or if I'm not doing a good enough, I'm not enough of a showman. I'm not making a big enough production that it's something you have to be at, you want to be at.
Well, that's why I said
the secret.
That's the reason I said Tracy Myers does it well. It's because
he's a showman for sure.
He's a showman. So I think it goes a long way.
It can't be a $5,000 or $8,000 event. It's got to be an $18,000 event with jump houses and carnivals and clowns and whatever else. I don't know if I can.
I'd say we've had some really good trunk or treats that's been really well attended, and I think those go a long way too.
That's tough too, man. I'm just like, I put myself in their shoes. Like, am I going to get my kids in the car and haul them over here to walk around your dealership and take candy? I don't know. Go figure. Hey, you know what, Luke, though? People that do put on a good event, Buy Here, Pay Here United.
100%, man. That was
there might be free candy. There might be free hot dogs. I don't know.
I promise you'll get something free with your registration fee. Guaranteed.
Yeah. So it's going down April 30th, Las Vegas at the Bellagio.
Yep. BuyHereUnited.com, I think. And or BHPH.com.
BHPHUnited.com. Get on, register now. Get your plane tickets. This is the perfect window right now. You're about 60 days out.
Yep.
So now's the time to get everything locked down and be there. It's going to be a good old time.
It's a great time. We will be there. We'll be doing a lot of production, a lot of recording, right, Jeff? And
we'll be doing something. I don't know.
Come talk to us. We may want to interview you and all that good stuff. And, be there because it will be worth it.
Yeah. So one more topic before we get into what I really want to ask you about and get into. So I think on the Facebook page, you saw a bunch of dealers in some of these groups get riled up about this Autotrader private seller exchange platform that Cox has launched, right? So Cox has come out and said, hey, this whole private party to private party, 1.5 million sales per month. We want to get our hands on some of that. We want to be the intermediary for you to sell your car to your neighbor. And we're going to handle all the paperwork and all the in-between and make this exchange, this marketplace platform for them.
It's pretty interesting concept, honestly. Okay, they want to do that. I don't see I'm gonna make a lot of people mad here. It's like it's like curb stoning. I could give a rat's batoot about a curb stoner. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And some people, they'll spend their whole career as a uh, independent dealer committee or member or whatever, caring about it. Curb stoning does not affect your business, everybody. I'm just going to let you know that. Running your business poorly affects your business. So just because you think that the guy's got 4 cars down there on the curb for sale for $5,500 matters, it really doesn't, okay? If you do your business the right way, you're going to sell plenty of cars. This here, the reason people are upset and the reason people get upset is Cox, because Cox is doing it, okay? If you would have said ABC Auto Dealer is going to do this, there wouldn't be a problem. People would start copying it and do it. So Cox has the facilities to do it. They have the financing to do it. They have relationships with vendors to do it. It's a safe transaction for individuals, individual to individual. So the only thing I can see here is that it would maybe interfere with us buying some cars off the street, right? Is there any other? I mean, maybe it will affect higher end retail people, but they're not doing subprime, number one. Yeah. So it's going to be prime to prime. And if a prime buyer wants to buy a car from an individual, they can go do that right now and go to their bank and get financing done. It's no big deal. So people get riled up about things they shouldn't get riled up about.
I think part of the argument, and just to take the other side of it, is, from what I understood of these people making the argument, was it's private party sellers that would typically get basically you'd get pushed out of the private party market because you'd get so depressed that selling your car private party was a hassle. So this is making private party sales easier for the customer instead of the alternative, which is trading it into a dealership or selling it to a dealership, right? Sure. So they're facilitating a private party to private party transaction and making that process easier for the customer. Cox Automotive is not the one to step in and be dealing with individuals.
I don't think so.
They have no customer service skills. They have no communication skills. I just can't even fathom the type of manpower it would take to run this type of an operation.
This is going to be horrible. This is going to be.
They will. I mean, just insane idea. I don't know what they're thinking. That's the biggest brain damage they could ever get into. But B, I do see what's the next step. Now, if I, Cox, can facilitate a private party to private party transaction, well, why can't I facilitate an off lease to private party transaction? Guess what? I got 60,000 off lease cars sitting in my inventory right now. I just start putting those on the private party platform.
That may happen. Also, you know what else might happen? Tesla might start delivering cars to your house. Ford might allow you to order a new car online. All these things are going to happen. So
right, but their argument is, and their big angry is, you Cox are supposed to be us dealers' partner. We're paying you fees. We're buying through you. We're doing all this stuff for you as a partner. And then they get all pissed when they're like, okay, Cox, so you're going to end around me? You're going to run an end around?
Cox is a business.
For sure.
Cox Automotive is supposed to make money. And however they find a way to make money is the way it matters. And so let's just say, I'd like to know, after they implement this, okay, there's 1.5 million private party transactions per month currently. Do you think that's going to go up? Do you truly think that needle is going to move at all?
Well, I mean,
no, it's not.
Not to any percentage that's going to be noticeable.
Right. So it doesn't matter. People get upset about things that don't matter. Again, run your business properly and you don't have to worry about it. That's just my opinion.
Well, I don't like it. I want to be angry.
Be angry. Being angry is not going to affect your bottom line. So, I mean, you be angry all you want to and get fired up about things that don't matter. It does not matter.
Yeah.
Period. It doesn't matter.
There is an argument, and I think that's always the slippery slope argument, right? Okay, if I'm going to say that this doesn't matter, or that this doesn't affect me, or that curb stoners don't matter, or that Cox selling private party doesn't matter, or that, well, maybe having a dealer license doesn't matter. Well, maybe we should just let anyone sell a car. Well, maybe we should, you know what I'm saying? Like, where is that slippery slope as a dealer where you're going to say, I'm just going to head down, be in my business, and I'm not going to worry about what all these guys are doing, whether I like it or not, or push back against it and feel like it's infringing on my, you know.
So if a dealer out there really wants this to, if they really think this is a problem, quit doing business with Cox and quit doing business with Autotrader. It's that simple. It truly is. I mean, if everybody decided to do that, then Cox would either go out of business or they would get more into our business. So it really doesn't. I don't see how it matters. I do not see how this matters.
Yeah,
but I'm sure it does to somebody. But you know, oh well.
Yeah. Well, so to plug one more sponsor, guys, Buckeye Dealership Consulting. You know, they are a great sponsor of the podcast. Reinsurance, PSI, VSI, PMS, all those acronyms that these guys do for us or to us.
I tell you, they're great. I have been using them for several years now, and they know the business. They can teach you how to sell product. They can teach you new ways to make money. They can teach you new ways to keep your money. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's what matters. They've just come off their really busiest time of the year. They have time to set up your reinsurance company if you hadn't already done it. If you hadn't already done it, you're missing out on millions of dollars of opportunity.
It's a good point. Instead of ranting about Cox Automotive,
oh yeah,
being
100%.
upset for hours every day that they're doing what they're doing, maybe you could take those hours and put it into setting up your own BSI program, your own CPI program. Yeah, make yourself some money.
Because I promise you, you will make more money in the long run doing this than complaining about freaking Cox doing something. Who cares? I mean, next thing you know, they're going to raise the auction rates another $50, and people are going to complain again. Oh my.
Yeah. Be angry that your salesman just broomed a customer, pre-qualified them on the lot. That'll guaranteed do more for your bottom line than
guaranteed. That happens if you took the time you got on Facebook and complained about whatever, because all of you are out there complaining about something. If you just took the time and trained your staff while you were complaining or even looking at Facebook, you'd make so much money it wouldn't even matter. Anyway, so I'm cynical today.
So Primal End is a sponsor of the podcast. Primal End gives capital to dealers for dealerships, for lines of credit, for any kind of area, right?
Yep.
They got the money. We need the money. The money is an issue right now, and we're seeing it dry up. And this is probably the biggest headline we're seeing kind of unfold. It's almost like a slow motion train wreck, right? It's like you see it, you can't stop it. It's going to happen.
So this is why Primal End is important, because doing what we do, we need one thing, right, Jeff? What is the one thing we need?
Caffeine.
Cash, baby.
Yes.
And if you don't have cash, you can't be in this business.
2 C's.
Even if you're owned by York Capital, who has $18 billion under management, okay? That's a lot of money, just to let you know. You could run buy here, pay here for years on $18 billion. And probably
run it badly.
And you could run it badly and still make money. So, but even when you have that much capital, you may not want to put all your capital into business. And that's where somebody like Primal End comes into effect. They can help you. They can lend you money and they can make you grow. So let's talk about American Car Center and what happened Friday afternoon. It's a big deal. It's a huge deal in our world. And if you want to worry about something, this is something you should worry about. So American Car Center, it's lease here, pay here in the Southeast. You have up here, Jeff, that it's 40 dealerships. I've heard closer to 60.
Okay.
They are owned by York Capital, a private equity firm. And last week they had advertised a $22 million bond sale.
222.
Yeah, I'm sorry. $222 million bond sale. And what that is financing. That's all it is, okay? Counties and cities and everybody issues bonds. And when you're York Capital, you can figure out how to issue bonds to fund your buy here, pay here dealership.
Which is, for those that, the way I understand it is a simpleton, it is a package of loans, right?
Well, the bond is secured by the package of loans.
Right.
So
but your package, your collateral gets a rating, and that goes out into the secondary market or into the capitals market.
Yeah.
And those people that if they feel it's a good investment or the returns there based on the rating of the assets can bid on it or make offers or try to buy portions of that for whatever
correct
investment vehicle they have, right?
And so, yes. And so what I understand, they had a offer for 65% of it and an offer for 35% of it. Okay. How do you think these bonds rate? Just if you just had to think about it. So
much worse than they did a few years ago, a few months ago.
The U.S. government is AAA rated, right? Or AA rated, I think. Apple is AAA rated. These are junk bonds. Okay. So what do you think? They haven't issued a bond in a year. What has changed in 1 year, Jeff?
Interest rates.
They've gone up about 8% in a year, right? So let's say last year they sold these bonds, let's just say 10%, which they were more than that, I guarantee. They were probably between 10 and 15%. Let's say they sold those bonds last year and the return was 10 to 15%. How much do you think those bonds priced this year are going to be?
Yeah, I don't know, 15 to 18.
I would say it'd go up. I'd say it'd go up at least 8%. Also, what else is going on in the market? Auto loan delinquencies. Right? So makes the bonds less attractive. So the next thing you know, York Capital, who really doesn't need any cash, but why not get cash on your assets sitting there in form of loans? So they did this, tried to do it, and the capital was going to cost you 20 to 23%. Guess what they said? We're not going to put any more cash into this business. Let's collect out what we got. And that's what happened. And that's what happened.
So that's a phone call that the executives are having on Friday afternoon with the private equity company that owns them. And the private equity company is saying, our most calculated bet on this is to pull the plug on you guys. Sorry, we're cutting off your credit card.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that they didn't own any of their inventory either. Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Really weird to me that next year was flooring all of their inventory and they still needed cash. So to me, that just means it was run poorly. So
you back it up a couple decades, right? And the guy who started this, I don't remember his name, but he sold out to a private equity, correct?
Yeah, that's how we got there.
And that's, to me, a recipe for disaster, right? Like when you're running a small buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here operation and selling to really subprime type customers, from what I understand, that I'm a pessimistic guy when it comes to scaling those type of operations. I have rarely seen it done well, or rarely seen it survived more than a couple of, maybe a decade.
I think it's very hard to do what we do on a grand scale. Now, Drive Time's doing it, and maybe they know something the rest of us don't know. But once you scale past the original owner, and then you have multiple locations where you can't put your hands on these customers daily,
multiple layers of management,
I think it really starts to dissolve. The relationship that allows these accounts to be collected starts to dissolve. And some of the biggest buy here, pay here stores in Texas right now, which or in Oklahoma, which where the largest ones are. Who do you know that have over 10 locations, Jeff? I don't know. Maybe Adonis and Tricolor, maybe, but that would be it.
I don't know that they have over 10.
I don't know that they do either. So I think there's a reason. And I really do think there's a reason. And maybe this shows us.
What's interesting to me is they didn't do it smarter. They should have known this was coming. They should have known what their bonds were rated and what the appetite in the market was for it before they brought it out. How do you come out on a Friday with an email to employees that operations have ceased and no other information? You're not ending around for your customer base. Everything that I've looked and seen online is you have a whole customer base that now thinks they own their cars. They think they can just ride. They think they're out of here. This company's bankrupt. Come yank my GPS out of my car because I own this sucker. Like,
I can tell you this:
how mismanaged is that?
I'd be willing to bet you Westlake is collecting these accounts or somebody like that. So I don't,
but I haven't seen any info from any customers posting that says, "Oh, Westlake reached out to me," or "Oh, ACC reached out to me and said that I need to keep making my payment like normal." How is that email not go out at the exact same time as the email to the employees or press release?
I'm sure
you've got a whole asset that you got to collect on, man. Your whole portfolio. Who's collecting this?
Because it's hundreds of millions of dollars, probably. I would think their portfolio is at least 222 million. It's probably more like close to $1 billion if we had to look at the amount of money they're trying to raise. So it's a huge number. So somebody's collecting that, and I would assume Westlake is doing that. So
the other thing I saw was
it's already gone out.
That with Lease Here Pay Here, from what I understood from some of the posts, was they have past-time or on-time units. There were people complaining that they don't have the code for their GPS, even though they made their payment. They don't have the code to reactivate their car.
Guess who gets involved when that happens?
Yeah, CFPB.
Yeah.
And the lawyers.
Oh yeah.
Like you're not smart enough to have some sort of a contingency plan in place to
our local
collections activities operating, even though your sales operation is stopped.
So our local one is a recon center, a big recon center. So Monday morning, you know where my first stop on the way to work was, right?
Mm-hmm.
By that store. I stopped in there and passed out my card and trying to hire technicians. And so we got a couple people to come in and interview. Well, when I found out what they were making and what they had going on, I was like, this isn't going to work.
What do you mean?
I mean, holy cow. They were paying them god-awful amounts of money.
Oh, really?
And oh my goodness. And they had control, like a technician had control over kind of the recon process. And they were, we're making $30 an hour. And this is really a part changer, making $30 an hour. And I'm turning 80 hours a week. And I'm like, holy cow.
Wow.
And I mean, it was eye-opening. And anyway, I had a good conversation with a bunch of people, passed out my card. We interviewed 2. They didn't fit in our program. We'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of good people to hire that they have hired. So if there's one of these in your town, I encourage you to go reach out, talk to them. There's going to be salespeople. There's going to be a lot of defaults on these cars, as you were just talking about. So there's going to be more people coming into our market. Next year is going to be running these cars at auction, y'all. So there will be, I would say these stores carried 100 or so per location. Maybe not per location. They probably, let's say 50 at least per location. So there's going to be a ton of cars out there in the market that are probably already recon ready to sell. There's opportunity here. Again, this matters more than
a true vulture, Luke. A true vulture.
Well, the one people I worry about in this situation when it comes to car dealers, this can create waterfalls.
For sure.
And you got to know where you are when this happens. And that's the reason, again, prime lending is so important. They are still lending, okay? When you start talking about pricing bonds to market, one company comes to mind a lot, Jeff.
Right.
And it starts with an A and ends with an A. If I was one of those dealers, knowing that kind of this is their business model and that a company capital markets and a company that American Car Credit, Car Center had their own loans that they were pricing. Well, their loans as their company are worth more than 20 dealers' loans packaged in one. You got what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because they have a track record of how they collect, how they recon, their loss ratios. They have this. The one thing that other company I'm speaking of does not have is that they can't say, hey, we have these 10 dealers that we have 10 years worth of data on, because they don't have it. And so I think if I was involved with that company, I'm not saying anything's going to happen. What I'm saying is I'd be prepared. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think everyone needs to look at it as a warning call, right? And you've seen some of the smartest dealers in the group chime in and say, they're not laughing, they're not pointing fingers, they're trying to look at it as like, okay, what can we learn from this?
Oh yeah,
You know,
you got to learn something.
What's the autopsy on this? How did they go wrong? And what can I do to not end up in their situation? Or what could be the next domino to fall? You know, is it another larger, you know, does this spell bad news for Carvana if they don't have the ability to keep raising capital? You know, does this spell trouble for those companies that are selling their packaged, you know, securities into the, you know, public markets, and they're not able to raise their next round, and you might have a whole portfolio tied up with them hoping to get funded on it, right?
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, I've seen this happen before.
But also be relying on people like Mechanics Bank, right? Mechanics Bank, they were doing some volume and they just decided to shut down overnight. Boom, gone. So if you were a dealer and you were doing 50% of your loans through them or more, what happens to your business model? If that you had all your eggs in one basket with no contingency for lenders or for capital providers, or, you know,
I've seen this happen. This is the start of it, buddy. When that avalanche starts rolling, and if you're lucky enough to be in smaller, insulated cities, you won't. In states, red states, you won't see this happen as quickly. These other states, it happens a lot faster, and you got to be prepared because this could get dirty.
Well, I would say as a heads up for those that are in the buy here, pay here industry, keep an eye on your collections, keep an eye on your collateral recovery rate, keep your cars and payments as affordable as possible, work with your customers. That's the advantage we have as smaller buy here, pay here operations. We can keep tabs, keep the temperature of our customers and find solutions for them. You don't have mechanics getting paid $30 an hour to hang parts because you're paying attention to what the labor markets are doing. You don't have bloated inventory. You don't have, you know, all this shrinkage because you've got dealerships in all different areas and you're not able to keep tabs on some of the lesser, you know, tightly run ships.
Pay close attention to your expenses. We've let them run crazy for the last 2 years. We had free money and our customers had free money. So you've got to really pay attention to these things that could affect you and eat your cash because you've got to have cash.
Yeah. So Luke, before we wrap up, guys, if you've made it this far in the podcast, you slightly tolerate us. We ask one thing of you. We provide this. It's free. We don't charge anyone to listen. All we ask is that you leave us a review on Apple, subscribe to us on YouTube, leave some comments, tell us what you want to hear more of, just some sort of interaction. So that's kind of our dealer to dealer agreement. That is our marketplace. That is our Cox Automotive. We provide you with podcasts. You provide us with a review and or a subscribe.
Yeah, we won't try to get into the private party business if y'all don't want us to.
We won't. There is no arbitration process if you don't do it. We just expect that as a dealer and as a fan of the podcast, you do it.
Yeah.
Talk to you next week.
See ya.
Dealers helping dealers. Please leave us a review and subscribe. The Independent Dealer Podcast.